What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical, I mean, it's 5:30 in the East Coast, 2:30 West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. Of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, he's on a heater. Our producer, Devon's on a heater. You're going to hear from that later on in the show. I'm not 2 out of 3. That's not bad. We got Andre here with, it's not $1 million. You won $1 million, not too long ago, but you won, what, 30K yesterday? Andre, welcome to the show. Hopefully you bring that the good vibes to tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. Glad to be here. And yes, 30K last night. The late swap option was very, very helpful last night. Otherwise, I would have probably not cashed anything since I was SOL half my lineups.
You jumped off of Schroeder, I assume, and you you probably got like some extra. And all of a sudden now you have some money for, or maybe you want some Bielitsa. Well, what was the main move? And just talk about that. It's a 9-game slate. We'll dig into it. Obviously, as we can only have so much pleasantry, so much like general game theory. But I think it is something we don't talk about enough as far as how to apply or how to take advantage of late swap and get yourself some upside.
Yeah, so this was in a unique situation actually because I was literally trying to upload my lineups at 729, and only 200 of the 307 was able to upload. So I had a whole bunch that was blank and empty, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna try to backfill them as best I can, and had to scramble wait for the updates from the projections from you guys, from our great projections team on their end. And once they did that, I just pretty much kept adjusting them as the night went on. Once I found that Bielitsa was starting, I knew I wanted him in my lineup for sure. So then I added like 20% of him and just went away from there and saw that lineup and said, you know what, this looks good. Hopefully it can make me cash something and make my night break even at least. And a couple hours later, end up with 30K.
Is 30K exciting after you win $1 million? Is that still, it's worth getting out of bed for, I suppose, right?
Oh yes, definitely, for sure. It's still coming in first is always the best feeling for me. Like I love obviously you love the money part of it, but I do it for the competitiveness to come in first, to be the best at DFS, and hopefully one day I can get there. You're
in it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You don't hear that often, I know, but the money that comes with it is nice too. Don't get me wrong.
The competition. Say hello to chat here. What up, chat? YouTube. Feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, the whole deal. And just so y'all know, just like yesterday, we have Crunch Time is free. It's free today, so you guys can stick around. They take you guys all the way up to lock. Normally, it comes along with your premium package. If you guys don't have a premium package, get yourself a premium package. The numbers that you're talking about, the tools that you're talking about, you can get that yourself. 10%. No, it's not 10%. $10 off your first month. You can get it just for basketball a la carte, or you can get all the sports with the exception, I believe, NASCAR is that's a separate deal. But everything else, with the exception of NASCAR, you can get it that way. Either way, you get $10 off your first month of RG Premium. And after this, I believe it's Kevin Roth hosting. Andy Means takes you through the cash stuff. And we got Tuttle for the tournaments. And again, if news breaks when we get off the air, they're going to help you guys adjust. And news will probably break, and it's probably going to break for us as well. It's pretty quiet for a 9-gamer as far as who's in and who's out. What we have right now, let's see. Well, the Clippers, this is the tricky one. This always seems to work out this way, right? The Clippers have the most guys that are questionable, the least amount of information, and of course they play the late night hammer, which game 8 starts at 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and there's an hour break for game 9, the last game. Clippers and Utah, and we're not really sure about anybody. Well, not anybody. Conley is still questionable, and of course the Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi, Batum, and Luke Kennard are all questionable. So that's one of those games where you might be able to take advantage of late swap, or you're playing some catch up and you want to sort of guess, and hopefully maybe you can swerve to something else if you see you're clearly behind. Boston, we got Tice is back with his finger. He's probable. We just saw Jaylen Brown is ruled in as well. Kyle Lowry on the back-to-back. It seemed like he was more likely to be doubtful, but he is currently questionable. Draymond Green is questionable. It's interesting. It says expected to play. This just kind of came through as well on Twitter. Expected to play, and then it says now game time decision. I assume he's in till otherwise noted. And there was some coach quotes, or it was a Draymond's quote that basically said they expect him to play. But again, he was a late scratch last time out, obviously. Is that the first game? I think that's the first game, isn't it?
It is the first. Yeah, it is the first game. I think, 7 o'clock. And because they play in Orlando tonight. Yep.
Which doesn't necessarily mean anything because he was scratched like 5 minutes after lock the other day. But don't get me into the rant, like especially the TNT games. I'm sure you noticed it. the 7:30 tip off, and they tip off at 7:30 lock, and they tip off 20 minutes afterwards. I mean, they got to get the studio takes. Just bump it back to 7:45 and give yourself 5 minutes.
Exactly. I'm glad we agree with that, because I agree. Like, that extra 15 minutes could come in handy, and with all the news and everything, they should really push it back a little bit just for that specific reason alone.
Yeah. It's and I say baseball, exactly when that game is starting. It locks first pitch within like a minute, and that's it. That's what we love. That's a fun element of baseball for sure. Of course, you don't get many scratches in that anyway. All right, let's finish the body parts. Simmons expected back. Will Barton is he questionable or probable? I don't have an update on him. I believe he's questionable but likely to play. Memphis, we got Melton is questionable, Brooks is questionable, and Bain is available. Prince is still out for Cleveland along with Nance and Drummond, so it's going to be a Jetty Osman night. And I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Oh, Steven Adams is doubtful, which can make it a Willie Hernangomez night, which it's a 9-game slate, and Willie Hernangomez is going to be super, super chalky. We'll talk about our ownership stuff in a second, and we're going to bring in SBK from our projection team that works at lineup HQ, and he'll kind of update and tell you what's going on or what they're kind of keeping their eye on minutes-wise and seeing how things may change as far as the slate. 9-gamer tonight. What's your overall mode of attack? Is there something that's going to jump for you? Is there a certain game that you want to stack up? Is it a bigger slate than it actually is, or a smaller slate than it actually is? Because I feel like it's not great right now for a 9-gamer. It's not a ton of stuff I love. Maybe that's just me.
No, it's a little bit of both. There's some games I like, pieces of some games. There's not really much that I'm in love with today. Like the Conley news, I think is also going to be important in that Clipper game, because if Conley is out, then I'm gonna probably want to play, Clarkson again. So that's news that I think I might be waiting on and backfill my lineups with. But to me, you have certain games, certain pieces of it. I think it's more of a balanced night personally, just from the way I have been looking at the way I like my lineups and the people that are in my player pool currently. It just seems like it's more of a balanced line and pay up at a specific position that feels a lot weaker than others, with there's like limited value there. Or
all right,
good value, I should say.
I think we got to have the Hernangomez conversation right out the gate, because that sort of dictates the rest of your lineups. And I think he's a much stronger play on DK than he is on FanDuel. FanDuel, you're only locked into that one center. There's an opportunity cost, and the price is a little more appealing on DK as well. Again, we're assuming Adams is going to be out. We're assuming that Jackson Hayes is not going to start. We're assuming it's going to be Hernangomez. We've seen it before where Hayes started and Hernangomez basically took over the spot in the middle of the game. And since then, he's basically taken over that rotation spot, despite the fact that Hayes is theoretically the future. He's the guy that I believe a lottery pick, and Hernangomez not so much, kind of a castaway from the Knicks, and I think Charlotte as well too. But tonight he seems like the better play for them, and I suspect he draws a start and plays about 27 minutes, 28 minutes, and he's a fantasy point minute guy. So let's put you to the decision right there, because there's a domino effect, because that's a 3v3, a 4v4, because all of a sudden salary opens up, whether you're spending on Jokic or you're spending on a guy like Hernangomez. So are you taking a stand on that, or just go in multiple directions? How do you feel about Chalk Willie tonight?
I'm gonna have some of them, definitely am. I'm not gonna have like a ton of them, because there's a couple of the centers that I like on the slate. I actually like the person he's going against, who's also cheap, which is on the opposite end with DeAndre Ayton. So I just like that matchup in general. I don't think that Hernangomez is gonna be able to guard him, but it's, to me, I'm just trying to get different at certain spots, and something like that, paying up a little bit at center might be a little bit, or at least, like I said, going balance in the mid tier might be a little bit of a way to go, because Hernangomez, I think, like, he's going to get the minutes regardless, I believe, but it depends on how Hayes is playing too. I think if Hayes plays a little bit better, he might get a little bit of couple extra minutes. Not 100% sure though how the coach, because Stan Van Gundy also is very iffy when it comes to coaching. We know he likes his certain players and certain guys in the rotation. So, but you never know. But I expect to be probably at the field, or not maybe a little bit below the field on him.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up our ownership stuff right now here using the lineup HQ. And again, we're going to bring in Keach in just a minute to try to bring some clarity as far as other stuff that we're monitoring throughout the slate. Let's pull up center specific on FanDuel. We're going to jump to DK as well in a second too. And hey, I was saying hello to chat before. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, ask some questions. We'll answer your questions later on the show. Devon's going to jump on. Andre will answer the tournament stuff. I'll answer the cash stuff. and just, give us that information. Let us know what's what, so we can answer it much better. And also tell us what site you're shopping on too, because of course that matters as well. Ownership projection. Let's see, as far as FanDuel. So Hernangomez is only 14.8% on FanDuel, but on DK, it's a massive number. I'm kind of jumping around right now and just spitting out words as I'm stalling to get to the page. But here we go. Pulling up my center ownership stuff. We're seeing Hernangomez at 36.8% on DK, which he's 3.9K over there. So
he's a lot cheaper there, and value on DK is you need value on DK anywhere you can get to pay up for the stars to get to have the better point system. So he's a much, like you said before, he's much better play over there for sure. He's coming in as from on our projections, like you said, the third highest on FanDuel. So like I said, being at the field on FanDuel is probably the best bet to be, maybe a little bit over, if anything, or under, depending on how you feel about the situation. And how you want your lineups to look at the same time too. But sometimes you want to take that guarantee, 50 or maybe possible 60 or 70 from Embiid or Jokic. So that might be a way to go and get different too, especially on DraftKings too.
Yeah, I mean, Hernangomez is he's their best dollar for dollar play, but at some point raw points matter as well too. The way I was running my stuff before the show, of course things might change, but he was popping in my DK lineups and not as much in my FanDuel lineups. So it's probably the way it's working for other people as well too. And you mentioned, Ayton, Hernangomez is not known for his defense. Jackson Hayes, if you watch him, like he's like talented but raw and young, and he looks overmatched as well too. So I like Ayton as a consideration. I like that matchup there against New Orleans in general. And I think Capella's the other guy. If I'm not going all the way up to Jokic, or like if Draymond doesn't play, tell me who's guarding Vukovic. Go ahead. Take your time.
No one. It's going to be a tough night for them up front, but it probably they probably would put Juan Toscano Henderson at center. Then if Draymond sits, or probably put Pascal, put him back in there. But it's going to take a couple bodies. They probably just have to double team him. And I would, if I was them, probably just try to let Fournier and Terrence Ross and Michael Carter Williams beat me. So Vucevic becomes an excellent play if Draymond's out. And we would get that news before lock. So that could definitely change the slate in a drastic way.
Yeah, I would love to get some clarity on that. And you mentioned Pascal. He'd be an interesting salary saver. I know he's burned us many times, but if with Draymond out, I think he would kind of be forced to play a good bit of minutes. And he basically is he's like a very poor man's version of Draymond. If he's got the same body type, he could be his stunt double. If Draymond was doing a movie, they look very similar build, don't they? I don't know, at least in my head. When I'm watching the game, I can't tell which one's which sometimes. It looks similar to me, but maybe that's the thing. Embiid, I'm a little bit concerned about because I don't know if you watched the last game, he did kind of work his way through it, but they were just stretching him out the entire time. And he was the last guy into the locker. And I wasn't sure if he's going to play the second half, but Embiid's certainly going to be lost in the slate. And I don't mind the matchup there against Chicago. And I suppose Jokic is the safest of the big spends. That's kind of where I'm at. What say you as far as the
yeah? I would definitely say Jokic is definitely the most safest out of the three for between the two actually, but it's just Joel Embiid's always a good play. He's always getting hurt throughout the game. I expect the majority of times to get back up and continue and go on playing. So that's what makes him a great tournament play, because that volatility and the unknown. And also he's a couple $100 cheaper on FanDuel, definitely from him, and also I believe on DraftKings too. Is he? Let me check the prices on real quick. Yeah, he's $300 cheaper on both sites than Jokic, and obviously Jokic is in a more competitive matchup. But Chicago's been playing in some competitive games lately and staying in it. I don't expect them to stay in this one, but you never know. And any given night, anyone could be anyone, as we've been seeing lately in the NBA over the past couple of weeks.
What do we expect out of Chicago, by the way? You brought them up, and we saw it last time out, didn't it? They started their second half, they were down by a bunch of points. And we saw Satoransky start in the second half. We saw Young start in the second half. I believe they actually came back and won that game. Mm-hmm. Do we assume they run with the second half lineup that started, or just they're going to go back to, in theory, they don't want to develop Satoransky. He's probably a 1-year contract guy. They want White to be the future. I assume White goes back to the starter, but I think it's just worth mentioning, worth monitoring. We might see something different in that Chicago lineup. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
I don't think so. I think you'll get the same usual suspects as the starters. I think that was just probably more so of a game situation how they were playing. So it just made more sense maybe to start the second half to maybe get a little bit of coaching, like get a little boost from your bench and your role players to pick them up and get them back into the game. So I think those guys are going to be low owned definitely in tournaments. So they're great tournament plays too, even though Philadelphia plays good defense. They've been slipping a little bit lately. So you can maybe catch them on a good night and have that blow up game from either Zach LaVine or Kobe White.
Best dollar for dollar plays. Oh, is Keach with us now, Devin? All right. Well, he does not like to wait, so let's bring him on. SPK, what's going on, dude?
What's going on, boys? How we doing?
We're doing all right, but we're of course, the last game on the slate is the one that has the most stuff up in the air. Like I haven't looked at what we're doing with the Clippers as far as who we're projecting in, who we're projecting out, and I assume you'd just be guessing. Conley on the other side, we haven't seen him play in a while. He's questionable once again. I mean, do you have anything to add? Do you have any leans as far as you think maybe Kawhi plays, maybe George plays, or it's just sort of a guessing game?
So I was working on these Clippers initial projections at like 4:30 in the morning last night, and I remember the first thing I did after I saw all the questionable guys, I'm like, this is going to be an amazing late swap slate, and this is going to be the most miserable Clippers initial projections I've ever done. I am currently projecting Kawhi, Paul George, Nicholas Batum, and Luke Kennard all in. They're all questionable, so it kind of seems weird to do anything beyond that. I am kind of keeping their minutes in check. Like Paul George, I have at 30 minutes right now. I would assume if he does play, he'll be on some sort of allotment. Kawhi Leonard, I have pretty much at a normal minute allotment. He's at 34. Nick Batum at 32. Luke Kennard down at 16. So none of these guys right now are even close to playable in terms of projections, but obviously that can change very quickly. If we have no Kawhi, no PG, no Batum, guys like Lou Williams, Marcus Morris are going to turn into like some of the best plays on the slate. The fact that their prices are kind of up a little bit, I feel like does kind of, take some of the value away and maybe will lead to less people like kind of making a big point to be able to swap late. But Morris is at 5.5, Lou at 6.6. So it's not the value we were getting a couple games ago, but for the level of production we would get, still pretty good.
What are you guys debating today? I know you have your channel in Slack. What are you guys going back and forth on as far as your minutes? Who won out on the arguments as far as the lineup HQ? What's the big topic of conversation?
Well, the Clippers have obviously been a big one. The Raptors have been another one with Kyle Lowry technically questionable. We have chosen to not project him. So we basically have this Toronto team projected as if Lowry will not play, which is why, Fred VanVleet's going to project pretty well as it is, but he's popping as a particularly strong play tonight. Same with Pascal Siakam. Norman Powell projecting pretty well, better than he would, obviously, with Lowry in. So those guys, including DeAndre Bembry, another one. We have 34 minutes right now, a 22-minute projection. So at 3.1K on DraftKings, he's probably going to pop. If you're nervous at all about him or Lowry playing or, the Raptors potentially doing something else with that position, you can always just go into lineup HQ and drop his minutes or projection down to, keep him from popping. But at this point right now, at least, the Toronto starters are looking pretty appealing.
Yeah, we have the minutes equal money. Not all minutes are created equal. Like Bembry played 34 last night and eked his way to like 12 fantasy points. I think he took 3 shots. He made 2 out of 3, so he's efficient. Memphis could be interesting. We know Bane is back. Melton and Brooks are questionable. What if those guys don't play? Are we interested in Memphis?
It looks like people already are pretty into Ja, just kind of given the tags on HQ and stuff like that. Seems like people are already pretty interested in him. I do think, obviously, Grayson Allen would become more appealing than he is right now. We have him at the 28-minute projection, 21 fantasy points. He kind of shot the lights out the other night. I don't expect that to continue. But, if about 5K, if he's playing like 32, 34 minutes, we see no Brooks, no Melton, I guess the upside's even higher. Both of them sit. He'd be a little bit kind of appealing. I wouldn't have any interest in Desmond Bane, even if he kind of is like projected for close to 30 minutes. But Kyle Anderson's another guy. His price isn't really all that appealing, but he just keeps going out there and smashing, even at a mid-range salary. So I think, if he somehow is able to creep up to like 31, 32 minutes without some of these starters or rotation players in there, that would be pretty awesome too. So yeah, I mean, it's, obviously the wing situation there is what you're watching big time with Brooks and Melton both questionable.
Andre, you got anything for Keach?
No, not the current moment. But you don't expect obviously Lowry to play on the back-to-back, do you? For sure.
No.
Like if you had to put a percentage on it.
I'd probably go like 30, maybe closer to 25, something like that. But yeah, it seemed like last night, like there was a very little chance. I kind of expected a doubtful tag. We didn't really get much. And then we saw it's questionable today. I was still a little iffy, but I would say, gun to my head, that it's more likely he sits.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the beats for Toronto said it was like less likely or unlikely. They had a tweet out there that implied that it didn't seem likely he's going to play. And you probably saw the same thing. And yeah, we don't really know these things. That's the best of our knowledge. But I think it's smart to project them out until otherwise noted. All right, we appreciate your time. Enjoy your weekend. Crush it tonight. Jumping back to the slate. Oh, let's mention this before we I gotta talk to PrizePicks. Yeah, let's do the seamless segue. PrizePicks, get yourself a $100 deposit bonus if you 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Use the promo code Grinders. That link will be dropped in chat. And Andre, you got some winners for the people. Get them started. We going over? We going under? Who we locking in?
Yeah, I have 3 picks that I picked for the slate that I am very confident that I think will pretty much go over, just based on, like I said, me going more of a balanced build, and since it's like mostly FanDuel projections that they base it off of. Jason Tatum, he had a good game against Atlanta last time. I don't see no reason why he wouldn't have another great game against them, especially when Atlanta can't really guard anybody. And Jeremy Grant, over 40 fantasy points against Memphis. The game's going to be a little bit of high-paced game, and Jeremy Grant's the number 1 option on that team, as you can see, with no Blake. And even though you got Plumlee back, I don't think, and you're getting a couple other guys that are back too, I don't think that no one's going to take the usage away from him. And then obviously DeAndre Ayton, as I spoke about before, he's too cheap at 6.6K. He's just smashing this spot. There should be no one to be able to stop him, and he should just have tremendous upside. I expect him to hopefully have a big game and show why he is, was a first overall pick for Phoenix a couple years back.
Let's play good chalk, bad chalk. I think this is good chalk, especially on FanDuel, a little less so on DK, but I'm probably going to get there as well. Jetty Osman, Cleveland without Prince, without Nance, without Drummond. They're a thin lineup there. The price is not fully adjusted to the situation. Was he 4.2, I believe, on FanDuel and like 4.8 on DK? Let's see what we currently have as far as his ownership projection. FanDuel at 36% and DK, it's not going to be as high. But do you like Jetty as far as going to be over, under, kind of with the field? What's your thoughts?
I'm going to be probably, that's what I've been struggling with all day. His price is a great price, and I know he's going to play 30 minutes. And Denver has been struggling a lot lately on defense, and it really all depends on how all the news breaks. But he's still a great play. I think overall though he is good chalk. Just no way around it. He should be able to hit his target score. Of what 5x or 5x, so like 25, 27 fantasy points. I don't see why he should have a problem hitting that against Denver, especially when he's going to get all the minutes he probably can handle tonight.
Highest projected small forward on DK as well, a little bit lower, 29.2%. Let's just fire up all the players. Let's see the entire pool as far as ownership. I imagine Hernan Gomez. Yeah, Hernan Gomez 36.8% on DK. Then Darius Garland at 30% is kind of sort of somewhat surprising. The entire Cleveland team's been pretty thin, and it's weird if you're watching Cleveland games and like you don't have Sexton. It's very upsetting when they're not pulling Sexton. They're down by 30 points. Like, get this dude out of the game. He's at 43 minutes and they're down by 30. Is there not a live body to throw out there? Yeah. So the Cleveland guys are playing a good bit of minutes there against Denver. I just like that price is pretty good on DK. I don't love Garland, but again, the value is not great. FEV is right there as well too at 29.7%. You have a take as far as Garland, Sexton, the rest of the guys in Cleveland?
Like the other guys on Cleveland. I like Sexton and Garland. I like the guards today more on Cleveland than obviously Cedi Osman. I'm higher on them just because I know they're competitive and keep things and keep games close lately. Even though it's going to be hard matching up with Jokic, but I just love the way they play, and Denver's still not a great defensive team this year, as they once were last year. So I expect them to still give a lot of fantasy points to them, and them to have a pretty good game. And at the ownership, well, at least on DraftKings, they're going to be popular. FanDuel, I don't expect them to be that much popular. So those are great tournament plays on FanDuel, and I think this is a pretty decent not bad, but decent chalk on DraftKings.
You were talking about balanced builds, like no LeBron tonight. Some of the big names, like no Harden, obviously, but there is, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's 10.8K on DK. I really like that price. It's a back-to-back. They did lose, and OKC probably doesn't push them too hard. But if they blow him out, if that's the concern, it's probably because Giannis does Giannis things. We know Middleton's in a bit of a funk now. Maybe it's just like the matchup against the team. Toronto's kind of sort of shut him down 2 games in a row, and there's no Drew Holiday as well. Thoughts as far as those Bucks against OKC, Giannis and Middleton? I will say there's really no run backs, and I guess you can run back SGA.
Oh,
but
there's run backs. I like Shy tonight. Like just in general, Drew Holiday without Drew Holiday, there's no guards that can. The guards have just been getting off against them pretty much since he's been out of the lineup. So I like Shy tonight a pretty decent amount tonight. I'll probably be like, granted he's not high owned, so I'll probably be over the field on him just by being at like 5 to 10% of having Shy. But I like him a lot, and then still with Al Horford getting all the usage and a matchup, it's a little bit better harder matchup with Brook Lopez down there. But Brook Lopez is not a great defender. He's only known for really his shot blocking ability. Al Horford he has a multiple ways of getting up there with fantasy point wise, as far as he can play defense, will get steals and blocks, and he can pass the ball, and get assists, and he can shoot the ball. So there's some multiple ways Al Horford could get there. So those are like the only 2 plays I like on OKC where you can run it back with Giannis in that type of slate. But Giannis, they should be able to handle them realistically, but they have not been playing. They've been playing a lot of close games this year instead of unlike last year. So that makes it where he can get the minutes and has the possibility. But I'm betting on the chances that I can get players more in a 9-8K range that can get 40s and 50s and spend that money elsewhere on other positions.
And as far as
Middleton's in a great position, a great spot. I think the matchup against Toronto is just difficult for him. I think Toronto just plays it well. I was looking into some stats yesterday about that. So I think today is just a much easier matchup for him. They're going to put Dort on him, but I think that's not going to phase him as much as the way Toronto plays defense against him. So Middleton is one of my favorite low-owned small forwards today too.
Yeah, on the OKC side. Okay.
I was just saying I'm higher on him than Giannis.
Yeah, the OKC side, they're as healthy as they've been in a while. They have like 11 actual players. Well, 10.5 if you count Darius Miller as a half, I suppose. Who knows if he's even going to play? And a lot of those guys got priced up because they were playing extended minutes, and now their minutes are going to come down and they're overpriced. But yeah, the ones you're talking about, SGA and Horford, seem like the most logical plays if you're going to run it back. Do you have any when you build your lineups, or when you build them in the lineup builder? Do you have any certain rules? Is that something you implement? And is there any that tonight that you're thinking about that you might roll with?
Typically with my lineups, I tend to run. I have a very strict and thorough process. Like I run a lot of groups. I run mini game stacks off of the players that I have in my player pool. So that way, if I like them, if they're like pretty much like a superstar and the game's going to be competitive, I want to make sure it's going to be competitive, probably because one other player on the other team, a key member of that team is having a big game with them. So I like doing it doing my lineups like that. So it makes it a little bit more easier for me to build it, and then I just adjust it as I go, depending on what the optimal spits out. So like if it doesn't give me enough of, for instance, Giannis tonight, then I would just increase him depending on what it is, or decrease him if I don't want that much of him. So it just depends on the slate, but and also, like I said, depending on how the slate goes and what the news dictates too. Like I know we also just got news not too long ago that Ben Simmons is now a game time decision being with him not going through shoot around. So that might be something to look into further because there might be value on Philly.
Yeah, we saw that last game. A lot of us went to Maxey. I had some shares of Maxey. I don't know if you did. It didn't work out so well, but a lot of the other ones worked out well. Harris was great. Embiid, powered his way through that game. Again, he did not look right, but he was a gamer, and good on him. Milton already rolled out too, for what it's worth. Curry was excellent. Kind of relying on that 3-pointer, but he is pretty cheap on FanDuel. You can play him on DK as well. And Danny Green, I think, is still minimum on FanDuel if you need a true salary saver. Not somebody you go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say that if Ben Simmons does get ruled out, I would like that game more to stay really competitive and close, and maybe a mini game stack. Definitely running back with like some Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, Zach Levine, and maybe and Joel Embiid would be a priority, but I would probably try to not. I would just tend to probably get away from Joel Embiid, maybe go towards Seth Curry and Tobias Harris as secondary options, just because I know the usage will be spread out towards them a little bit more too.
Is there a second bull that gets you excited besides Levine?
Kobe White. Kobe White's the only other bull that I'm interested in. Like I have Garrett Temple in my player pool currently, but I'm debating on if I should take him out or not. But he's just more so because he gets the steals and the blocks and on FanDuel, so I know that helps out a lot. But I just those two mainly for me is all I like on the Chicago Bulls side.
Orlando starting Birch, by the way. I think that's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. They this year, like unlike years past, they play Birch alongside Vooch. That's an interesting move. He is super cheap. He's 3.6K. Of course, he's a pretty decent fantasy point per minute guy, but like obviously he gets hurt by playing along the starters too. I wonder what we have as far as our projections. Is Birch playable? I hate locking in guys at 7:00 too, especially if there's Philly news waiting for me. It's going to open up, if something the Clippers opens up, or something we're not even thinking about. Like it's got to be good. And that brings me to MCW. Like how much MCW you want to be locked in at 7:00 which is, it should be okay. I think it's a little better on FanDuel than it is on DK, just the way the prices work. But it's probably not going to be spectacular. Thoughts on Michael Carter Williams?
I like him. I like him a good amount. It's hard to get away from him. He's someone else that is somewhat of a good value play. At 4.5K on FanDuel, and then at 5.1, he's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings. It makes it a little bit harder to play him over there. But on FanDuel, he's definitely an excellent play for sure. There's no downside to him. He should be able to crush that price. And in this matchup against the Warriors, where they like to play fast paced, and they've been playing better defense lately, but overall in the season they're still not up there as far as like an elite defensive team. So the matchup doesn't scare me at all. I would have a decent amount. I would be at the field with them. If you're multi-entering, I would definitely be at the field with them for Michael Carter Williams.
Another guy that's been disappointing but kind of sort of popping. Barton, we expect back tonight. Is that official? Do we have Devin? Let us know. What's the deal with Barton? Is he officially in? Is he questionable? I don't know. Devin's going to join the show in a couple minutes. He's been compiling questions there in chat. If you guys want to get some questions in now, fire away. Let us know for tournament, what site it's on. It helps us much more. Michael Porter Jr. is still really cheap. A better FanDuel play than a DK play just because of the price. Are you going back to that well?
Oh, as far as Porter, I would go if Barton's in. I can still do it if Barton's in because his price is come down a little bit. So I mean, come down I believe a little bit. So I can still do it, but it really just depends. I probably won't have that much exposure to him because there's a couple other small forwards I would like to get to on that on this slate too. Like even on the first game, I like Kelly Oubre a little bit more. I like Brandon Ingram too. Chris Middleton's a great option. So and also even Evan Fournier. So like there's a couple pieces from that first game I do want to target still, and I think that can have good games. So it's just a matter of what the news is, and also even Jaylen Brown in that matchup too. That's a good matchup against Atlanta too, where he can go off and have a good game too.
I don't know what to do with him. It's a nice matchup, but like it feels like he's like not 100%. He's talked about a knee he's been dealing with, and just kind of sort of playing through it. But like sell me on that because I'm just conflicted.
I mean, he's still playing. Like I get it. He's still hobbling around, but the coach is still giving him 30 minutes. And in this matchup against Atlanta, there's still tremendous upside. He had a poor shooting night. He shot only 6 for 20 from the field, and still found his way to 33 fantasy points, which was shy, obviously, of what he should have gotten at his price when it was 8.4 in FanDuel last time. So I think he's a great tournament play and a great pivot, probably off of like the chalky play. Well, Chris Middleton, I say, since he's chalky at the small forward position. So to me, he still has that upside that he can bring it, and it's just him and Kemba's back too. But Kemba is going to be on his I think on a minutes limit of around 30 minutes or 28 minutes, I believe, a night. So that's something I would still keep in mind too, and have a little bit of exposure to Jaylen Brown, because I still think the upside is there. As long as the coaches still give him the minutes, there's still upside there, even with a poor shooting night. Imagine a couple shots would have fell more. He could have been easily into like 40, 45 fantasy points, possibly even 50.
Yeah, if you don't hear us talking about somebody you want to hear us talk about, ask about it. Devon's going to be joining the show. Devon, join the show now. Tell us about your heater, by the way. Both you guys are in heaters. Hopefully it's contagious, because it's been a little chilly for me. What happened to you last night? What'd you take down? Anything interesting there, Devon, or just some good ROI?
Just in general, just good ROI. It started last Friday, actually, with Sadiq Bey. Ended up in like almost all of my lineups. So, yeah, it's been nice. Just, watching that RG ranking slowly climb feels good.
Hey, speaking of RG, you can play the FanDuel single entry contest tonight. $100, 100 smackers. Get in that. I've been playing that ever. Yeah. Hey man, it's a great contest. It really is. And I know it's, I'm supposed to say it as like a company man, but it really is the first place I'm going to, if I'm spending $100 on FanDuel tonight, that's where I'm going, and I'll be in there and I'm going to min cash. There you go. Looking forward to it. Devon, you got some questions for us?
I do have questions for us, Dean. I think it speaks to how many times we've worked together that I could have stopped you before that spiel and said it word for word what you just said.
Are you saying am I too predictable? Is that what's going on?
If I'm playing $100 on FanDuel, that's the first $100 I'm spending is on that contest.
Well, I don't want to sound like a shill. Like I don't like it. We ask for likes. I just don't like the shill in general.
You can't argue the logic. It's a great contest for sure.
And the rake is like better than a lot of other contests. And you use the Rotogrinders Google Chrome extension, and it'll tell you exactly what the rake is. Doesn't cost you anything. Download that in the Google. What is it called, Devon? You're more of a tech savvy person.
The extensions search there.
I just plug it in a search engine, and all of a sudden, it pops up for me. But it doesn't cost you a thing. And like I get your ownership stuff as well too. Trust me. It sounds like I'm shilling again, but again, you should have that. It doesn't cost you anything. Makes a lot of sense. Devon, you got some questions? Fire away.
Sellout.
I know, really. I sold out to the man so many years ago.
Mutton would like to know, DK tournament, looking for a 3.3K punt, currently on SV. What are your thoughts? And this was an early question, so we might have had some news open up.
Oh yeah, let me look real quick because I have FanDuel open real quick. So 3.3, you said?
Yeah,
you can't feel good about speed.
Yeah, that's a low bar.
Yeah, let me look for that real quick. We take another question.
Yeah.
Or two.
Let's get this FanDuel cash one in for you, Dean. Jason,
I'll just say Birch is 3.6, and I feel better about. I mean, obviously, you don't have the $300, but I feel a little better about Birch than I do about a lot better. I think Birch is probably going to put up around 18 to 22, which isn't spectacular, but should do more than speed. Go ahead, Devon.
Alex Santi in chat brings up a good point. Don't Google extensions with grinders. That might be might bring up some bad results there. FanDuel cash from Jason: Embiid, Jeremy Grant, and Porter Jr. or ABC Middleton and Willie Hernan Gomez.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do that again. I didn't realize there's three of them. It threw me off.
Yeah, it's a 3v3. Embiid, Jeremy Grant, and Porter Jr. or ABC Middleton and Willie.
The second one, the third one, the second threesome.
Number 3, my lord.
Add that to your Google, and then have it more fun with your Google search. The threesome. Go ahead.
You good to go, Andre? You got to pick?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's no one below 3.3K. So I would just say blow up your lineup and maybe try to start over, or see where you can maybe make a 1v1 swap and get maybe someone at a lower price and spend up a little bit more.
All right. And Dean, you touched on it right before I got on as the questions delivery person. But if you don't hear somebody on the show, that doesn't mean they are a bad play. It just means there's a lot of players and we don't have a ton of time.
It means we're directing people away from those players. We're keeping them for ourselves.
It's all for us. Yes.
Very diabolical.
Yeah, I was rubbing my hands diabolically. You couldn't see it, but
I was petting my imaginary cat.
There we go. K-Mac wants to know, FanDuel tournament, any interest in Dwight Howard?
No. I wouldn't play Dwight Howard at all. No, unless you know something that I don't know, and Embiid is out, I'm not going to play Dwight Howard at all.
And Dean, you asked earlier about Will Barton. I see questionable. I don't see anything other than that.
Okay, I think we're assuming he's going to be in. That is a 7:00 game, but I haven't seen him officially in it. I was looking at the report. The NBA official report, but let me check that and consult it. But go ahead, I'll fire it up and see if I can find something.
Yeah, Moses wants to know FanDuel tournament thoughts on Toscano if Draymond sits. Draymond is not expected to sit, so this question might be outdated
Yeah.
here, but
Yeah, like I mean, he's gonna play the minutes regardless. I don't like his upside for fantasy points. So, and I think he's like 5.5K if I'm correct. I would just I don't like him either way. I know the minute five he's 5K, but the minutes will be there. But I'd rather just go with like Daniel Tice. Even though he's going to be back, I think he's around the same price range. He's a better play, even if Draymond was to sit, but I think he's going to play.
Haskell's 3.8, and he played 30 minutes last game when Draymond didn't play. 32 minutes if you want to get all technical. Yeah, 3.8 on DK. I think he'd be interesting. But again, right now we're expecting Draymond to play. It's a 7:00 game. We assume we'll have that information.
all right. Only one would like to know. FanDuel tournament, any pivots off of Giannis, and who is the best center? The best.
Pivots off Giannis. Well, like if like this is just my tournament take, I personally would go maybe Steph Curry off Giannis as a pivot. I think that's a great option. Obviously, you have Joel Embiid and Jokic too, but the best center that I think on the slate tonight, I like Capella and I like Ayton a lot tonight. Those are like the two centers I'm gearing more towards. Like I said, I'm probably going to have more of a balanced build, so I expect to get more of those centers. I haven't run on lineups yet, but from just by the way I'm looking at this slate and the value is very slim, I just see those two being more of my higher owned centers and better plays of the night.
I love the Capella call. Hernan Gomez, especially on DK, is going to be hard to get away from, from a cash perspective. Do what you want in tournaments, but he feels like a pretty safe play. But if I can't get all the way up to Jokic, I love Capella. 7-2 on DK I feel like that double-double's on layaway. I know you like him for the stocks on FanDuel, but you're still getting 2 points for him. I think that just is a little bit too cheap. And at FanDuel at 8K, he's a great, good stopgap if you can't get all the Jokic. Or again, we talked about Vuk. Vuk could be spectacular if Draymond doesn't play tonight. We'll see how that goes down. We're assuming he will, but yeah.
And for the layman out there, stocks, blocks, and steals.
Steals plus blocks, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Capella can get like 7 on the right night. So yeah, he's just incredible sometimes.
Stocks machine.
Yeah.
Quincy.
And Barton is in. Sorry, Barton's in.
Awesome.
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
Cool. Quincy wants to know for DK tournaments, thoughts on Bane?
Well, you need some guys out, right?
Yeah, you need some guys out before you get to him. I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't play him.
And I'm just going to swallow the urge to do a Bane impression. Jason asks, we actually got that one earlier.
I want to hear it, actually.
You think darkness is your ally? Sal, FanDuel tournament, can you play Garland and Sexton together?
Yes, you can. They don't have a bad correlation. They don't have a bad correlation. That should still be fine for them to go together, especially if you're running it back with like Jokic or Michael Porter or Barton at this point. Now he's rolled in, or Murray. I like that.
Yeah, you did mention you like the guards from Cleveland, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bane thing, you're talking about fighting the urge for Bane. I was fighting the urge not to make if Grayson Allen becomes a thing. You know who his doppelganger is in the league. Google that. Have some fun there with your Google machine. He's been in the news of late. But you need 2 guys out, or at least 1 or 2 guys out. You need Melton or Brooks to be out to kind of open things up there for Bane, I think.
All right, let's see. How about CK's question, FanDuel Cash, best game to stack? I put this question down both to answer it and to clarify. I think the idea in cash games is you're not necessarily supposed to stack, right?
If it happens organically, so be it. Like if there's a team that's down like 4 players, like which we've seen before, yeah, you're going to have 4 guys on the right side. But you're not looking to stack, and if anything, you're adding extra unnecessary volatility.
So CK, let's move your question to tournaments. Best game to stack.
Yeah, that's what it would be more of a tournament thing. See, I like that Golden State Orlando game to stack. You could do the Atlanta Boston game to stack. I would say one of those 2 games would be probably the better games. Actually, and also probably, which might be low, have a lot of low owned pieces, the Detroit Memphis game. I think that's a wonderful game to stack actually too.
This user has been a friend of the show for a while. I've actually not ever once tried to pronounce their name, but Onel, I'm going to assume. FanDuel tournament, Who is Andre's lock for today?
Give him the lock.
Oh gosh, that's actually put me on the spot.
You have one. You have a lock, right?
I do not have a lock, but if I had to make a bold,
could we call Ayton your lock?
Aiton's gonna be my majority. Like I probably will have more of him than most centers in tournaments. So yes, he would probably be more so my lock than anyone else. Yes.
All right. Chill wants to know FanDuel tournament single entry, Chris Paul or Ja?
Chris Paul probably because of the ownership, but they're actually no, yeah, Chris Paul because of the ownership. Yep, that's what I would go with against New Orleans. That's a good play.
You like Wright in that game, Darrell? I was flipping games for some reason. The Ja game, right?
The
Ja.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't have any. I don't have my player pool currently. Actually, I do have him in player pool. I like him, but I don't like him a lot. I'm gonna probably be lower on him compared to probably most people. I feel like I'm just gonna try to go with other center. I mean, other shooting guards. I mean, point guards. Sorry. Like I said, Garland is one of my favorite point guards I like on the slate. I even like knowing that with the Ben Simmons news, seeing what happens if he's going to play or not. Then I would try to get maybe more Kobe White because that creates a much easier matchup for him.
All right, John wants to know, with Brown playing, do you pivot off of Tatum or should you keep him in?
No, you can keep him in because Tatum would still go off. Tatum had a big game last game with Brown, and it's one of not both of them are going to have big games to probably beat Atlanta today. I think because Capella is going to have a good game along with Trae Young.
Not to ruin the surprise, but you may see Jason Tatum in a short video between this and free crunch time right after this.
Oh, really? Like he's going to personally appear?
He may personally appear. He may make a personal appearance.
Is it the six pack? Is that what it's going on?
Shh, Dean. Shh.
Oh, well, spoilers. My apologies.
JWC wants to know, DK Tournament, is the first game sneaky stackable with a couple studs and some value?
It is definitely sneaky stackable, but I would do like since the bigger slate, I would do like maybe like 3 to maybe 4 pieces most from the game. I wouldn't put your whole lineup on it, but definitely like a mini stack for sure. Yes.
Now, there's two first games. There's Denver, Cleveland, and Golden State, Orlando. Did he specify which first game he was talking about?
Did not. No.
Oh,
that seems important.
But yeah, it does. But honestly, both of them actually are good mini stacks if you think about it. Like I said, I love the guards from Cleveland, so you can still run it back with Denver. With Denver with Jokic or Murray, and if you wanted to go on the other end with Steph Curry and run it back with Vucevic as a 1-1, that could work too, and maybe get a little bit of Kelly Oubre, he's always my favorite player on every slate. I just have an infinite love for Kelly Oubre. He's won me a lot of money in the past, and I think he's just overall a good, hard-nosed player. So I think he's still in a good matchup tonight against Orlando too. So those games you could definitely do a mini sneaky game stack and it will work.
I was sitting here putting myself in place on a Friday night. I'm putting in my DFS lineups, and I stack the first game in a 9-game slate. That sounds like the worst sweat. All night, yes. I'm just watching the lineups just catch up to me. That sounds terrible.
Rooting for blowouts.
Go down. Yep.
Yeah. And right along with that one, Cheaper to Keeper asks, should you, as a rule, always have a player in the 10 p.m. games?
No, I would say no, not always. Because it just depends on like the game total and the teams playing. Like back in the day, like yes, there was like when the West Coast teams were just playing faster. I would say yes, you want to have someone maybe late always. But now that majority of teams are playing faster and a lot of high point total games, you don't have to necessarily have a late guy always to end the night off with. You can still get high enough scores and with the combination of players from games throughout the earlier games throughout the slate.
Do you love Freddie VanVleet as much as I do?
I like Fred VanVleet tonight, yes.
All right. We got just about a half a minute here left. We'll get a couple of quick ones in. Moses asks, favorite power forward point per dollar for tournaments on FanDuel?
What do you have for him? Power forward.
I like Jason Tatum a lot.
Nice. Steve Josephson asks DK tournament favorite game stacks tonight for all three of us. They ask. Oh, I don't have an answer ready for that one.
Not the first one.
Yeah, definitely not the first one.
Not the first ones.
I would say I don't know, for some reason something's drawing me more towards that Detroit Memphis game. For some reason I think that game is going to be very, very sneaky and very fast paced and very high scoring. I like that game as a whole, even though I'm not high on DeLon Wright. but I'm high on Jeremy Grant. I like that game a lot, so I would say that probably might be my favorite game to stack.
And we'll have to end on this news. Adams is out.
All right, good. That's what I kind of assumed. Hernan Gomez, I presume, is going to draw a start, but stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Crunch Time. Crunch Time is free today. Andy Means, you got Tuttle, you got Raw, taking you guys all up the lock. Do it, the like button. I was going to say on your way out, but you should be sticking around because Crunch Time takes you guys all up the lock tonight for the next 40 minutes or so. Devin, thank you for producing. Everybody, thank you for participating in the show, asking us questions. Keeps it much more interesting, much more fun. Andre, thank you for coming on the show as well. Crush it tonight. Keep that heater going. Hopefully I'm going to heat up as well. Hopefully everybody in chat heats up as well. Yeah, we got to go. Devin's got to set up another show. And he's got to fire up Jason Tatum, allegedly. Good luck tonight. We're out of here. Holler.
Back in the Fantasy Bar, big Friday night of NBA hoops, and I've narrowed it down to 6 of my favorite plays, 3 of my favorite games, some of my favorite correlation plays on this slate, including a guy I think goes for 60 or more fantasy points tonight. Who are we talking about? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Friday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. Feels like forever since we did a video. Good to be back here once again. Hopefully you guys are all doing well out here. We are here to talk NBA hoops tonight with 6 of my favorite plays across both FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. Now, before we get into the plays, guys, a couple things to take care of here in the house cleaning. First of all, as always, hit that thumbs up button. You guys have been doing an amazing job with that. I thank you for that. If you enjoy your time here in the Fantasy Bar, that is all I ask. You click that thumbs up button. Also, can I ask you one more thing? Subscribe to the channel to get notified when these videos are coming out. Also, a little bit of news. We're going to start including some of my favorite bets and player props moving forward into the 6-pack starting next week. And I want you to get over to scoresandodds.com/beer for some special offers over there. The guys have been killing it with the premium picks. March Madness right around the corner. Our boy Varnick has been on fire with the college basketball picks and picks from guys like Notorious, Head Chopper, Andy Means in the NBA section. Going to give you all the premium picks. Can compare odds across a bunch of different sports books there, different trends to look at, money versus tickets, as much gambling and betting information as you guys need. Go get signed up right now. Scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into the Friday picks here on this NBA slate. Again, I've narrowed things down to 3 of my favorite games. We're going to give you some of my favorite correlation plays. Let's start with point guard Chris Paul of the Suns. Now, Paul really playing well right now, averaging almost 46 DraftKings points per game here over the last 4 games, so really in good form here, and I really like targeting this game. We know New Orleans, these games have been very high scoring, and I know Phoenix likes to slow things down, but we have a big 230-point total here. We have a close spread, so I really see this game going back and forth, being a very high-scoring game, and actually going over that total. One of the bets I do like here tonight is the over on this New Orleans-Phoenix game. I also like this matchup for Chris Paul. New Orleans, 3rd most fantasy points allowed to this position. I know he hasn't played well against his former team so far this season. I think he gets it going here in a big way tonight and under 8K on both sites. All right, I promised you some correlation. Let's go to the other side of that one with power forward center Zion Williamson of the Pelicans. Now, you talk about consistency. Zion is really delivering in that department among other departments we're going to talk about. But let's look at the consistency first, that floor that you're really looking for in your cash games. 38 or more DraftKings points in 19 of the last 21 games. And the games he didn't hit that 38 was pretty damn close. So he's basically giving you that 38-point floor every night out. And why the scoring has really picked up here as of late, has raised his season average to 25 points per game. But this guy's averaging almost 30 points per game in the last 7. Been watching a lot of these New Orleans games very closely. And Zion been close to dominant in these games. Starting to look like the guy that we saw coming out of Duke, really living up to that hype here as of late. Now, Phoenix not very good against power forwards, ranking 20th in defensive efficiency against this spot. So a good matchup here. We already talked about that big total. We already talked about how I think this game is going to shoot out. I think Zion going to be a big reason why. Don't be afraid to pay those prices here on the big man for the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, we spent a lot of money there in the first game. Let's save you some money here in this next one. We're going to go to Detroit and Memphis. Probably not the game you were expecting. We're going to start with small forward, power forward, Saddiq Bey of the Pistons. Now, again, probably not the name you were expecting to see here, but this guy has really benefited from the youth movement in Detroit. We saw Derrick Rose move to the New York Knicks. We saw Blake Griffin relegated to street clothes on the bench, and Saddiq Bey, one of those young guys that's going to get a ton of minutes here, and we're really seeing it over those last 3 games, averaging 32 minutes per game, and it's really led to a lot of production as well, averaging 36 FanDuel points per game. So we're talking about a nice, easy 6 to 7x return here on these prices. So good buy low here on Saddiq Bey. And the matchup, guess what? Doesn't get any better than a matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. If you are a small forward, they allow the most fantasy points to this position. I think Bey continues to play a ton of minutes here, buying low under 6K. Get him in those Friday night lineups. All right, let's go to Memphis side. A lot of choices over there, but we're going to go to the big man, center Jonas Valanciunas. Now, John Morant certainly in play here as well. I don't hate that correlation, but I really like what I'm seeing out of Valanciunas here lately. 36 or more DraftKings points now in 6 of the last 7 games, coming back to the lineup here. And when you start to dig in to some of his fantasy point per minute numbers, look very similar to some guys that you're going to pay a lot more for. Guys like Vooch, who's been great lately. Karl Anthony Towns returning to that Minnesota lineup. Valanciunas' numbers are right there with some of those guys. Also guys like Clint Capella. So very, very productive. We know that in a per minute setting. And Detroit really struggles on the glass. Bottom 10 in rebounds allowed to centers. This is where this guy really makes his hay. Now, he's been scoring a lot here lately, but he did have a 20 rebound game recently. So a guy that can really terrorize a team on the glass. And with really only Mason Plumlee down there, Valanciunas should really be able to dominate the paint here. I see a double-double in his future and a big night here for the big man against the Detroit Pistons. All right, let's move on to our last game. We're going to go to Atlanta and Boston. Let's start with the Hawks with some value at shooting guard small forward with Cam Reddish. So Reddish fits the theme here of today's six-pack, guys. In good form here, guys. You can save some money on only $4,500 on both sides, but playing well, averaging over 28 DraftKings points a game here over the last 3, kind of filling some of that loss when DeAndre Hunter left the lineup here. And we're starting to see another one of those young guys drafted very early by the Hawks starting to pick it up. Now, one of those 3 games, last time out against Boston, really contributed across the board, 13, 6, 3, and 2 in that game against Boston. We know Marcus Smart going to miss this one as well, who's one of their best perimeter defenders. So that obviously helps the matchup here. And I just like these prices. We already mentioned it. Great buy low here on Cam Reddish. 6, 7x return each of the last 3. I think he's easily a $5,500 player here sooner rather than later. Let's buy low at this $4,500 price point while we can. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for Friday night. But before we do that, guys, we're going to continue our Beast of the Night contest for you to play. A thank you to you guys for watching the video, hitting that thumbs up button. All you have to do, get in the comment section right below the video and guess fantasy points on DraftKings for my favorite play of the night. The winner, the closest guess, we're going to give you a free 3-day pass to Rotogrinders Premium, or if you're already a subscriber, they will send you a free Rotogrinders t-shirt. All right, let's wrap this baby up. My favorite play for Friday night, Mas, the Beast of the Night. All right, Beast time. Obviously, you know we're going to Boston. Obviously, you know we're going to go with one of my favorites. You've seen him in this spot before. He's been very good to us, going back to the well on power forward Jason Tatum of the Celtics, tonight's Beast of the Night. So we already mentioned Marcus Smart out once again here for Boston. Yes, they get Kemba Walker back. Yes, they get Daniel Tice back. Jaylen Brown also questionable here for tonight. So let's run the numbers here in our Court IQ tool. You can find on Rotogrinders if you are a premium member, an invaluable tool to the NBA research department. But if you take those guys out of the lineup, usage goes up almost 5% here for Jason Tatum and skyrockets over 35%. That is a massive, massive usage number here with those guys off the floor. We know Jaylen Brown, a guy that can provide a ton of offense. If he is out, Tatum, a lock and load, even if Jaylen Brown plays tonight. I still love this spot here for Jason Tatum coming off a big game against the Atlanta Hawks, and he's been doing that a lot lately. 55 or more DraftKings points now in almost half of his last 9 games. I'm going to call a big 60 burger here or more for Jason Tatum. Big game tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. Boston with revenge on their mind. I think Tatum leads the charge here and gets it done. Jason Tatum, easily my favorite play for Friday night and tonight's beast of the night. All right, guys, that'll wrap us up for Friday night in the Fantasy Bar. As always, any comments, questions, feedback, hit me up in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, fantasy points for Jason Tatum on DraftKings for your shot at some free Rotogrinders Premium. Don't forget that thumbs up button. And don't forget, guys, scoresandodds.com/beer. I'm promising you some of the best content you're going to see. If you're a new sports bettor, if you're a seasoned sports bettor, tons and tons of information.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. It is Friday edition, which is the best of all the Crunch Times. We were all in agreement with that. Also joined by a couple very sharp minds. As always, one, Mr. Andy Means. What up, brother?
Might have got the car stuck today in the snow.
Fun.
We're doing a little house shopping, and the old car got stuck in the alley in some snow. So we're out there for about an hour trying to get out. Finally got it out. So I'm ready to roll, man. I feel great now. I literally pushed a car out of the snow. I mean,
you are all that is man.
Nothing to do with like the maybe 1 or 2 neighbors who helped me push it out of the snow. It was all me.
Yeah, that is kind of a boss feeling. So congratulations on pushing a car by yourself. Friday edition, Ty Man says Friday edition means got that drink. And you do. You do have that drink. I do too. I'm going to be pouring mine into a glass because the only beer I could find in my house was a Mick Ultra, and that's just...
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I don't feel very cool with that. We got Tuttle as well. Tuttle, what's up, man?
How do we feel about fruity drinks on the show?
It's pretty much all you drink is weird girly things. So
because I'm going with the Crown Apple and cranberries is what I'm going with over here.
Well, that sounds delicious. A couple people saying, hey, we got a Crunch Time tournament link. We will, once I make one, as soon as Meansy starts talking, we will have that. I don't right now. Also, it's a free show. So hello to everybody over there on YouTube. Hopefully you watched this yesterday. Hopefully you played Bielitsa Pizza because he murked last night.
And Bam and Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
Whiteside dominated too, man.
Yeah.
My lineup dominated my lineup.
So I think we're going to get that tournament out here and we're going to dive into the slate. If you're on the YouTube, you got to like and subscribe. We're doing this for free, but it's not quite free. You know, we scratch your back, you scratch ours. Got to give a like and subscribe. That would help us out. And then at the end of the show, you can decide, I want to join Rotogrinders Premium. These 3 fellows seem like they know, 2 of these 3 fellows seem like they know what they're talking about. So let's get into the slate here, Means.
You didn't need to call Tuttle out like that.
Yeah, come on, man.
I was saying
what the hell, dude?
All right, so we just got word that Ben Simmons is out. So I tagged Seth Curry in addition to Van Vliet at shooting guard, and then Silek Jetty at small forward, and then Giannis at power forward. So just speaking on the Sixers real quick, I mean, they have a really good matchup against the Bulls. They play fast, not that great defensively, definitely not good on the interior. So like Embiid's going to open up as a possible center play. We'll talk about that in a second, because a lot of what you're deciding on FanDuel cash games is what you're doing at center, because there's a really good cheap play and then there's really good expensive plays, and that just dictates what you do at other spots. So we'll get there. Actually, you know what? Let's start there.
Okay, let's do it.
normally start at point guard and work my way down. We need to start here because you have Willie Hernan-Gomez. Adams officially got rolled out, so that's good. He's a way better play on DK just because he's cheaper and you have multi-positional eligibility. But now there's starting to be some value open up, so I think it might be a spend up spot now. As you can see, we have 3 really good RG values here with Embiid, Jokic, and Vooch. So I think, man, I was maybe 15 minutes ago, I was going to say play Willie. Now I think you might spend up, and it looks like our projections are going to prefer Embiid, and it's hard to disagree with that. So a lot of what I talk about at these other positions is going to depend on what you do here. So it's kind of contingent. So if you're spinning up, you're obviously got to, if you're spinning up for Embiid, you obviously got to spin down for some other spots here. So like if I lock in Embiid here, you're down to 5.5 per for the next 4 spots. So I'm still leaving Giannis in there just strictly because power forward, like nothing. Well, I guess, yeah, the Philly, yeah, I forgot about the Tobias's price tag came up. I still think Giannis is going to be the play. I'm trying to think if I should untag Giannis or not. I'm going to leave him in. All right, so that's where that's a discussion center. Are you paying up or are you not? So I think you're probably paying up now. So let's get into we'll go back up to the top of point guard. So the good news is, like, I think we have good cheap plays here. So that helps with the roster construction overall if you're paying up at center anyway. So like, I think you go back to the Michael Carter Williams well here. I mean, he did okay last game, but not great. And you have like Darius Garland at 5'4", Kemba at 6'2". Probably not paying up for Steph, even though he's one of the better plays at this position. He's not going to be one of the better plays compared to other expensive guys. So I like probably going Michael Carter Williams there and then figuring it out, most likely going cheap shooting guard. I got both of these dudes tagged, Van Vliet and Curry. If for some reason you don't want to play one of those guys, and I guess that's a good pause and talk about Kyle Lowry. So last night before the game, Nick Nurse said that I think he almost went as far as to say he's going to be out for tonight's game. Kind of called him doubtful or unlikely and made it sound like he might miss a handful of games. Then Lowry pops up as questionable on their injury report today. So we're expecting him still not to play. So that's why I'm talking about all these Raptors guys. That game is 2 hours after lock. That game's 2 hours after lock. Clippers and Jazz have a ton of questionable guys. That's 3 hours after lock. And then the other 7 games are between 7 Eastern and 8 Eastern. So it's a really weird situation where some stuff we're waiting on is all late. So we're going to get into that weird game of deciding if I need to play someone early or not, which is, I don't think there's a black and white answer. So yeah, so that's why I have Van Vliet tagged. That's why Norman Powell's going to be a good play. But now that the Ben Simmons news popped, I think you're playing Curry and Van Vliet together at shooting guard in cash games. And then small forward, I still have Jetty tagged. Now Danny Green. So look, I'm just going to look here. Like if you do Jetty, got Michael Carter Williams, you go Embiid. Like you're looking at, you still got 7-1 to spend on these other spots. So like you might not even need to go this cheap at a couple of these guys. So there's plenty of salary relief to get Embiid. There's plenty of salary relief to get Giannis, Van Vliet, et cetera, et cetera. So other small forwards, if you're not I hesitate to even say his name on this show anymore, but Chris Middleton is probably going to be in play at one of these spots if you need to spend up. Raptors doubled him in both games. And I mean, holy cow, man. Like just was turning the ball over again last night, just all over the place. Like I think he had even more turnovers than 2 nights ago. He had 6 turnovers last night, 5 the game before. So, I mean, the new matchup tonight, obviously, and against a worse team, but they're actually pretty good defensively. The Thunder, he's 7-3, man. I hate even talking about him because he's been just a dumpster fire the last 4 games. But if you need to spend up, you're probably playing him or Siakam. So that's small forward, and then power forward. You might be able to do a Giannis Tobias thing now. Like before this Ben Simmons news, I was looking at like Giannis and JaMychal Green. Now you have a bunch more salary relief. So I think it might be a Giannis Tobias night. So if you do need to go cheap though, you have JaMychal. You have I think that's all actually. That's as cheap as I'd go. Because then if not, you're just probably spending up for. I do like Jeremy Grant tonight. I like him on DK a little bit. So that's pretty much it. I already talked about center, so I think I'm good.
Okay, excellent. Tuttle, what are we doing here tournament-wise? I don't feel like there's anything too chalky other than maybe Curry now, but help us out.
Yeah, it's not too chalky out there. Like you mentioned, I do think Seth Curry is going to be ultimate chalk on FanDuel. I almost actually tweeted out this morning, like, why after that last game, like, I know it's potentially a different situation tonight, but why would they keep his price at 4K? And they did. So you just play him pretty easily on FanDuel. In terms of tournament things and kind of roster construction wise, first place I want to start is actually center. Means you kind of mentioned it already. I think Hernan Gomez. So I think there are going to be three guys that soak up a ton of ownership. I don't know if we have it updated yet, but I think it's going to be Jokic, Hernan Gomez, and then now Joel Embiid with all that news. And there's still some really good center options out there. My favorite of the slate that I think is going to be really low owned just because there are good plays is Karl Anthony Towns. Like him quite a bit on both sides. I like him as a part of a stack if you want to go with, Siakam and Fred VanVleet. Assuming that Toronto is going to be without Lowry. We still don't technically know that, but I think that's going to be the case. But I like Towns significantly as part of that game stack. He finally got back to his minutes. His minutes were back up at 37. His usage rate was up last game in the high 20s, low 30s range. And I think that's where you'll see him again tonight. So Towns is the kind of the low owned guy that I really like on this slate quite a bit. In terms of roster construction, again, I think you're going to see something on FanDuel similar to the last time I was on, where you're going to see kind of cheap options at the point guard position. I think Michael Carter-Williams, I mentioned last time, I think he's an excellent fade. I think he's a good fade again. Like, we currently have him at 34% projected ownership. He just screams a guy that is going to project solid. He's going to have a solid median projection no matter what you do. It's a better spot than it was against the Knicks, but like, what's his upside still? He doesn't do a whole lot offensively. His upside is basically that he's going to get 5 blocks or / steals. Like, that's his upside for FanDuel is the defensive upside. And there's ways that he can work his way into optimal lineups, just, being active defensively. But I do like paying up at this position a little bit more just because I do think he's going to be pretty chalky. So some pay up options that were currently projected at low ownership. Trae Young, we have projected under 10% ownership against Boston. Boston hacks a lot. They foul a lot, and they don't really have the personnel to guard somebody like Trae anymore. With Marcus Smart still injured, so Trae Young is somebody that I like quite a bit at under 10% ownership if you're paying up at the position. Somebody else that's not quite as sexy, and especially not with. He hasn't been as sexy with Booker back either, but the game environment I like a lot is Phoenix at New Orleans. So taking shots at Chris Paul, I think, is fine as well. And then actually, speaking of that game, that reminds me of another center play I like quite a bit on this slate. And it, again, kind of sucks on FanDuel that you can only play one center. But a guy that is really, really cheap now, DeAndre Ayton, is only 6,600 on FanDuel. He's 6,700 on DraftKings. Like, these centers that are going to be playing are massive downgrades defensively from Steven Adams. Steven Adams, I was looking at on and off numbers earlier today. Steven Adams is good he saves the team 6 points per 100 possessions when he's on the court. When Hernan Gomez is on the court, he adds 6 points to the opposing team per 100 possessions, which is a massive swing. So Ayton, I like quite a bit too. We only have him projected at 5% ownership. Again, you can only play one of these two. But I guess the point for me on FanDuel is I'm steering away from the chalky centers just because I do think Ayton is a tremendous play. I think Towns is a tremendous play. We have him projected at under 2% ownership. So I do think these guys are good plays and you're not getting too fancy. Like, there's playing low owned guys that's just getting fancy, but these guys are in genuinely good spots. So I like getting off the chalk at center positions, paying up at point guard. And then small forward is another position that stands out to me as a spot to spend, just because I think you'll see a lot of Jetty Osman and then a lot of Danny Green out there as well at the position. So that's another spot that kind of screams to pay up at for me. So whether that's Jeremy Grant, he was moved to power forward, but whether that's like Pascal Siakam, he could still be a little bit lower on Jaylen Brown or Chris Middleton. I just like paying up at that position to kind of get unique lineup construction there.
Okay, great stuff, Tuttle. One note before we move over to DK, which is what we are about to do. We also have our Crunch Time tournament ongoing. Not only do you win a bunch of money, if you come first, you get a cozy Rotogrinders t-shirt. I'm wearing it now. It is super cozy. It doesn't have to be pink. You can get a different color. And you get kudos, you get credit, you get a shout out on the Monday show. So I'm going to put that in both the Discord and the YouTube chat. Then we'll get to some questions. But first, DK, means
On it. All right. I like this build. So I still have the same guys tagged as earlier this morning: Van Vliet, Siakam, Willie Hernan-Gomez. We're going to get some salary plays here with the Sixers guys that we will go through. So let's just let's go through position by position and talk some of these guys that are popping up in the builds. So before the Sixers news broke, Garland was popping up in a lot of stuff. Completely fine not playing him now. You don't, because we have better, I think, some cheaper, better salary relief plays that you don't have to go there. Of course you can. Kimba, 6'5". I think he's in play now. Kind of more of a last piece, like kind of brings everything together. But one of the core plays here is Van Vliet, and you have point guard and shooting guard on him. So I like basically plugging him in at point guard because, in all honesty, I'll mention DeLon Wright too, 6'1". In all honesty, I'm not spinning up on anyone here above Van Vliet, at least going out of my way to. If for some reason I land on someone, I'll try to make it work. Like maybe, actually, John Morant's cheaper than him. So I want to put Van Vliet in here, then nothing is really a priority for me. So let's go to shooting guard, where you probably will find one, like Seth Curry's 4'8". So let's just very briefly, let's look at what he did last game. Simmons was out, 13 shot attempts, 37 minutes. Got to the line 6 times. Obviously, he's going to make all of those. One of the better shooters in the league. Also had 5 assists. So I still think he's a little underpriced. Our projections agree. So why don't you put him in there, shooting guard? Before the Simmons news, like Fournier was popping up, completely fine not to play him. Never get that dude right anyways, and it's like just a not fun guy to roster. It's like plays the first 10 minutes of the game, gets you 6 DK points, then you're just like in a bad mood for the rest of the game. Don't like playing those guys.
Can confirm. Yeah.
I might write him a letter and tell him as such. It's just not cool of him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Like Middleton, maybe Jaylen Brown. Like there's some good 7K guys that we'll talk about at some other positions too that probably are going to be out of my build, but they're viable. But I just don't. With this, we have some cheap Sixers now, so we don't have to. Small forward, same guys I talked about. Look, you have like Middleton, Brown, then like Tatum's a good play. Like these are all our best RG values. I really like Jeremy Grant too at 7.5. Like everyone's been talking about today, I believe. But last game he played 38 minutes, 43 real life points, 48 DK points. So not too much in addition. But like I love playing guys like him because he plays so many minutes and takes so many shots. So like you got to live and die with these bad games where he just shoots really, really poorly. Like he has, like I played him in a couple of these where he couldn't break 30 points, but you get him at. I think I put him on our expert survey as my favorite tournament play because when he makes shots, he's getting 47, 48, 53. Like he's 7'5". Like
yeah,
that's just a very, very easy play. So I'm fine with him in cash games. Probably not going to play him now. He's in my build before the Simmons news. And then Jetty, 4'8". Prince is out. They have basically their front court is Allen and JaVale McGee splitting center minutes. Jetty plays the 4 now. And Dean Wade was his backup, played like 13 minutes. So like Jetty, it helps his rebounding rate. It helps the fact that he just plays a lot because they don't have guys that can play the 4 now. So like last game, he played 35 minutes and he was out there for the last 2 minutes of garbage time. JaVale, I think, shout out to Dean. Dean said JaVale fouled out. They bring Jetty back in for the last 2 minutes of garbage time. Like, okay, I'm fine with that.
Right.
A guy who's that cheap and is kind of blowout proof. So he's a good small forward play. That's basically the extent of like the main guys. I completely missed the main guy I want to talk about. Danny Green, 3'7". So not a fun guy to roster.
No.
But he played 36 minutes and he got 20 DK points. Like he got a lot of those in the first 9 minutes. But not a fun guy to play. I'm gonna play him. I'm gonna be quite blunt. I'm gonna play him. You expect his production to be a little higher than that anyways. He luck boxed into 2 blocks. I'll take the over on 20 DK points tonight. If anyone wants to bet me, Kevin Roth. Power forward, Siakam, easy guy right here to plug and play. Power forward, center eligible. Tobias, good play. All these guys I just talked about, small forward. Grant, Tatum. And then Giannis. So now I think we can spin up for Giannis if we want. We have him for 34 minutes. Here's the thing to note about the Thunder. So if you just look at a spread and say, is this game going to blow out or not, which I often do, that's down. Oh, it's down a little under. It's down a little under 10 now. It was like 11.5 when I looked earlier. So I'm like, oh, blowout. Giannis isn't going to play his full rotation. Well, Bucks have not played well lately since Drew went out. Thunder, minus I think their last game, they've been playing everyone tough. Lakers, 2 straight overtime games. I think they played, was it the Nuggets maybe? They're playing everyone tough, just outperforming spreads basically every time they play. If this game is close, man, look at Giannis's minutes. We have him at 34, 37, 37, 36, 38, 39, 38. Like, holy crap. Like, if this game stays close, they need a win, man. They've been playing awful. So we have him projected as one of the best plays on the slate, and we have him at 34 minutes. Just imagine what happens if he plays 38. So you can pay up for him. Center, I won't speak too much here because there's not much I want to do. If it's like, now it's kind of close between Embiid and Giannis, I'm sure that can go either way, man. Like, you could play both of those guys and then Jokic right there with him. Look at this, like 60 DK points, 59.5, 60 DK points. Please don't ask me who to play. Please, I beg you. In QQs, do not ask me who to play. Please. It's like literally 3 coin flips. So I have no idea. These guys are all good plays. As of right now, I'm probably going to play Giannis. Should I play Embiid? Probably. Should I play Jokic? Probably. These guys are all really good plays. Any other centers that are just center eligible besides Willie that we're obviously playing? Capella, maybe. Jared Allen, maybe. Probably don't need him now. Tons of good centers, but it's we only have so many positions, so that's all I got.
Okay. As you were going on your rant, Joey Rock in chat had just typed DK Cash, Giannis or Embiid. I was like, oh, never mind.
Answer it, Measy. Answer it.
I'm going to pretend my mic's going out or my internet's going out.
Yeah.
Be like, huh?
Hey, Tuttle, what are we doing here with spend ups? Because I guess just pick your favorite one. The ownership on them is not through the roof because there are so many good plays at the top.
Yeah, and I mean, Meansy kind of talked about it at the end too, in terms of how many good plays there are. And I talked about it on FanDuel, how many good center plays specifically there are. So I think if you're running multiple lineups, if you have an optimizer, something I don't hate for a rule on this slate on DraftKings is, hey, 2 center lineups, every single lineup, 2 center lineups, because there are some really good center options on this slate. I mentioned all the ones that you can play on FanDuel. That all applies on DraftKings too. I have a really shitty take that I want to get out of the way. I don't feel great about it.
Do it.
But and I blame this on Meansy because he's the one who brought it up to our projections chat. But if you want a guy who is cheap, who is going to be 1% owned, that could be in line for minutes, Aaron Baines. Again, I hate it. But here's the thing. Everybody's projecting him for about 16 to 18 minutes. And as long as he starts, we'll need to get confirmation on that, but I assume he's going to start. They used him to match up against Cat last time they played them. He got 2 quick falls in the first 3 minutes of that game. So his total minutes, he only played 23 minutes. He played 19 second half minutes against Karl Anthony Towns. Like, they're going to want to use him. And if he does not get into foul trouble, he's probably going to see more mid to upper 20s minutes, which is not being projected anywhere. Could he still get only 10 fantasy points if he plays 28 minutes? Yeah, he's not a very good player.
Is he center only?
He's center only, and that's the other kind of downfall here.
Yeah.
Is that you're locking up a center position at a really, really good position. But I wanted to get that really shitty take out of the way real quick. In terms of other guys,
play Cat over here on DK as well? Because
yes, 100%.
You talked me into him on FanDuel, so I'm in.
100%, and I think it almost makes more sense on DraftKings just because Van Vliet or Siakam specifically is a lot more accessible on DraftKings. So you can build, and I'm going to do this with my main lineup. You can build Van Vliet, Siakam, and Towns lineups very easily, and that's my plan on DraftKings. Is kind of a mini game stack there. I do think that game has some high upside in terms of point totals. So I'm kind of locking in those 3 to start and then moving around pieces from there in terms of my single entry. Another guy that I don't think is going to be high owned at all, mid-tier price range, SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Good pairing with Giannis as well, or Middleton if you're kind of taking the more mid-tier route. Milwaukee's not quite as good defensively as they were last season. He's back in the lineup. Minutes could be somewhat of a risk, but he played 33 minutes in his first game back from that absence. So I like him, and he's probably going to be, very curious. We have him at 6% owned. So like he's going to be extremely low owned, and we've seen him post, 50, 60 point upside in the past. I'm not going to keep rambling because we only have 5 minutes left for questions. So I'm just going to go to that, I guess.
Dylan Brooks got ruled out, FYI, too.
Any do you care means?
I don't think so.
Not for cash.
Because they have, not for cash. They have, they have Grayson Allen, they have Desmond Bain, they have Tyus Jones, they have D'Anthony Melton. They have guys that they can spread all these minutes around to. Yeah. Like, he's a high usage guy. I mean, for their team, he's one of their high. He just takes a lot of shots, but they can spread it around. For cash, I don't really care. The matchup is somewhat, neutral at best, bad at worst, because Detroit is just, they play so slow. So
yeah,
for cash, it's not going to move the needle for me for cash.
Okay. Real quick, we need about 5 more people in the Crunch Time tournament to get that off and going. So I'm dropping the link one more time. Reminder: if you come in first, you get a free T-shirt out of it, and that's worth it. So go ahead.
Do I get a free one if I enter it?
You do, yes. Every time I win, which is once, I demanded a free T-shirt because I was like, "Hey, them's the rules, baby." All right, let's take some questions here. We'll start with Timmy Tebow. He says, "No love for Tobias Harris. The guy is killing it."
I talked about him on DK. I think he's 7'9". I think he's I think I talked about him. I remember looking at his name like, oh, Tobias Harris is 7'9". So he's very much in playing cash. He's our second best RG value at power forward.
Okay.
Yes,
we'll go to Joey Rock. He says, FanDuel cash, Green or Thibault?
Yeah, that's never fun. My head is telling me Green. I just want to double check our projections to make sure I'm not far off on one of these, but my head is telling me Green. Let's see what it says. And it says, this is me buying time.
We don't have a starting lineup update, do we?
We do not. We have it really close. I still would probably play Green just because I think there's more volatility to Thibault's minutes. I think Green's 100%. For sure going to be out there around when we have him. So I'd do Green.
Okay. Excellent stuff. More questions coming in. DK Cash, 6,600 and under in the guard spot, please.
Ask total one if you can.
All right.
This is DK Cash?
That was, but this is a question for you, Tuttle.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
FanDuel GPP.
Yeah.
Danny Green or Temple?
Gosh, I'm still going Green there. I don't love it, though.
My answer is Kemba.
Kemba, there you go. All right. Apparently the tournament is full, so that is excellent. Marcus
you didn't
says,
let Tuttle answer.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I did.
You did? What did you say?
I said Danny Green over Temple.
Oh, I didn't even hear you. I thought I must have talked over you. My bad.
Yeah. Marcus says best power forward play FanDuel cash 44 hundo.
I could almost guarantee it's Jermichael Green. Let me just double check. He's under 44 hundo. He is. I thought he's 42. Yeah, Jermichael Green.
Okay, great. Eric says FanDuel single entry Garland or Rubio. Tuttle.
Garland.
Joe Cole says FanDuel GPP. Vooch, Zion, or Ayton Tatum?
I think I have Vooch Zion there, even though I like Ayton.
Okay, great. Griffin says DK Cash, Kemba, Danny Green, or Garland and Seth?
I like Seth. I'm playing Seth, but I think it's probably of those two. I would do Garland and Seth Curry. I'm playing 3 of those 4 guys though. So
okay. All right. Buckeye said, wait, is Garland one of them?
No.
Wow. So you're playing both of the guys on the other side of it, but you think you need Seth Curry in.
Yeah. I like the other 2v2 better. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Buckeye Jim says FanDuel cash, Tobias and Jokic or Zion and Embiid.
Ooh.
Oh, that's spicy. I love it. Man.
I would probably do the Tobias one. That's tough, though. I don't envy you.
Okay. D Gold, FanDuel cash, Zion or Harris, please. This is FanDuel cash.
I'm going to trust our projections on this one and just go with Tobias.
Okay, great. Big Bricks says DKGPP, Kem Birch or Danny Green?
Birch. I think has higher upside.
All right. Back into the YouTube chat here. Chili Co says on FanDuel GPP, Jeremy Grant or Zion?
That was GPP. Sorry.
Yep.
Zion.
All right. What was that? Okay. Kevin says FanDuel cash, Steph, Danny Green, or Kemba Middleton?
What?
I don't know. It's Afterlock anyways. It was FanDuel Cash, Steph and Danny Green, or Kemba and Middleton.
I think I might have just F'd my lineup. Sorry, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Probably doesn't matter, but
Did you lock anybody?
oh, whew. I was like updating it earlier on my phone, and then I like looked on my desktop site, and it was different. I was like, "Oh crap, I didn't do
I hate
it."
when that does
I
that.
forgot I did it on my phone,
Mhm.
but I think I did it too late on my desktop site. So-
I've been there. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Let's see.
Whew.
Feeling better? You feeling okay?
I can feel
Kevin
the sweat
says,
over here.
FanDuel Cash, Steph and Danny Green, or Kemba and Middleton.
Oh, that's no fun. I would probably do. Steph and Danny Green.
Okay, hey, don't go anywhere. You too as well, but everybody watching. A reminder, we're going to take questions after lock. We do this every single day in crunch time. Any questions you want, if you want strategy questions, late swap questions, anything you want to talk about, it's on the table.
Questions.
Hey, life questions, that's fair. And hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. That would help us out. We appreciate it. And go ahead, join the community here with some RG Premium as well. First, I have to say, I'm drinking this Ultra, and I don't hate it. I kind of like.
Oh, come on.
I'm embarrassed to say it, but
Get in the family over here. Get in the Molson Coors family.
I do love Molson, like just straight up. I'll drink a Molson.
I've never had it.
Oh, Molson's good. If I go to a hockey game, I always go out of my way to drink Canadian beer because, hockey. Molson's yummy.
Do you
Let's see,
talk with an
Roderick.
accent?
I'll start doing that. Yeah, if I have 6 or 7 Molsons. FanDuel single entry GPP. Is it foolish to play Paul and Ayton? Is it foolish?
No, but I would like a bring back there.
That was too prim and proper. Is it foolish? The correct question is, am I stupid?
Am I stupid? That is the preferred wording on that question. Angry Vic says, give me some if-thans for Clippers ins and outs, please, in a DK GPP.
Oh, thank God that wasn't a cash question. There's 4 questionable guys.
Maybe
Here's
just
the
hit like a couple highlights on that.
Yeah.
If then it doesn't matter, I don't think. Like even for GPP, I don't know if the minutes are going to be there for these guys. So like if Kawhi's in and George is out.
Well, it matters if 4 of them are out.
Yeah, but we're just turning into blowout territory then, right? Like it's not like some of these guys are priced up too. Like Reggie Jackson would be my preferred option if both Kawhi and Paul George are out. He's 4,800. Like he's not terrible, but I think that's the only way you're getting into it is if both George and Kawhi are out, then I could see a Reggie Jackson. But I don't really like paying up on these guys with minutes unknown, especially George. George has been out a little bit longer. Like he's not going to come back to a full allotment of minutes.
Okay. Let's see. BHB says, is Roth excited for baseball season? Yeah. Yeah,
no.
I'm excited for it to start, and then a month in, I'm like, such a pain in the ass. It's hard, it's stressful for me because I want to get all those calls right, and I can't. It's just impossible. So baseball season is stressful for me. Draft cheat DKGPP 2v2 Ayton and Desmond Bain or Capella and Bembry.
Okay, so 1, and if we think Aaron Baines is going to start, which I do, that would.
I think he meant Desmond Bain. Did he not?
Right, but I'm saying DeAndre Bembry is going to likely get squeezed minutes wise. I think in this spot, if we knew DeAndre Bembry was going to get the 37 minutes he saw last night, it would be the Bembry side. But I really think it's minutes get squeezed here tonight.
Okay. Mike says, do any of you own a home phone or is it just Dean? Did you guys
he
know
has
that
a home phone?
He actually doesn't, like, it rings during the show sometimes. And he's like, oh, I forgot to take the phone off the hook.
Seriously? Who owns a home phone?
I'm not kidding. I have no idea why he has a home phone. I love Dean. He's the greatest. That is the weirdest thing ever that anyone would have a home phone.
I feel like I'm an old geezer.
My parents don't have a home phone. Right. Yeah.
Let's see. Conscious Machine in the YouTube chat says, Delon and Jeremy, Are they good to pair or no? I would say if Grant scores with 38 points, Wright's going to get 10 dimes off it.
Yeah, bring it back with Morant too.
Okay, great. I'm kind of skipping around, so I'm sorry if I've missed your questions, guys. Nate says, should we play a bring back for the Philly value now?
Temple's probably the easiest guy to get to, as crazy as it sounds. Like,
I mean, Ben's out, so maybe Levine's better, right?
yeah, Levine, he's expensive, obviously. Kobe White is cheap as AF, but he didn't even start I played him last game with DeLon Wright. He didn't even start the second half last week. He was playing so poorly defensively. So if you want to get frisky and think Kobe White sees a full allotment of minutes, I think he's best priced out of these guys. But otherwise, yeah, obviously raw total, it's Levine.
Okay. We got to help our boy Chinatown in his contest with the Reddit D-bag. You know, he's always going one-on-one with the Reddit D-bag. He said that's his wording, by the way, not mine. DK points straight up, Van Vliet or Siakam.
Oh man. So
I picked the wrong side of this last night, so I'm not going to answer this one.
So if you look at like a bigger sample, it's Van Vliet. Higher with Lowry off, higher DK points per minute rate, and he plays more minutes. If you look at last night, I mean, everyone's going to pick Siakam if you look at last night. So I'm going to go with Van Vliet. I'm going to trust the longer sample. Yep. Let's see what our projections are like. Oh my God, they're like basically a point apart, barely in favor of Van Vliet. I'll go with Van Vliet. Try to get good odds on it though, maybe.
Yeah, I like Van Vliet on that as well. Let's see. Jay says DK Cash. It's a 3v3 for you means Ja Morant, Tybal, and Capella versus Kemba, Siakam, Danny Green.
Easy second one.
Okay. All right. Rodrigue, I think, brought up a question. Tuttle, I believe you were talking about this during the show. He says, is MCW a good fade? I just don't see a ceiling when watching him play. Is that the guy who you said?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I haven't run. I'll try to run real quick. Very curious on what his usage rate actually is this season. Like, he's just not going to be a high usage guy.
Like last game, it was low. Last game, it was 18. The 2 games before is 27 and 36. So, like, I think he does have a ceiling because he gets blocks and steals because he's a bigger guy. He hasn't lately, but I actually think he does a little bit, especially on FanDuel.
You think he could actually? I think those other 2 games are the outliers, personally. He's got a 20% usage rate on the season. Obviously not a huge sample.
Yeah,
19.2% last year, 19.1% year before that.
I mean, it's hard to get an outlier. It's hard to be an outlier 2 games in a row like that high, though. Like at high 20s minutes. So like, I don't know.
They're really short players though, right?
I'm Fournier. I mean, the ones that mattered played, like Fournier played, I believe, right? At least at least 2 games ago, right? Or no? Let me look.
I don't know exactly.
I don't know. And I mean, part of my point is that I think he's a decent blocks and steals guy. So
well, here's the thing. On FanDuel, can he get you?
Fournier was not. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
On FanDuel, can he get you 30? And could that be good enough?
Of course he can get you 30.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, he can do that. Is he going to get you 40? No.
Yeah.
No. But like if you're happy with a 30-point-ish upside.
It also doesn't always matter on FanDuel, though. Like if he gets you 30 and what you get to at your other spots gets you way more because the positional stuff is just like
it's a construction thing for sure.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think he has more ceiling than people might give him credit for, but I mean, he is not a fun guy to roster. I'll say that.
No, we've spent too much time talking about MCW. He sucks.
He's already playing. He's already playing, by the way. Right. So it'll be interesting.
Who's the best player in the league that has 3 a hyphenated name?
Oh, Karl-Anthony Towns.
Williams, Karl-Anthony Towns, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, it's got to be Towns, I think.
It's got to be Cat. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Anthony Sanchez says Jackson or P-Bev tonight.
Jackson.
Well, Total take that one.
I mean, P-Bev is still like minutes restriction, right?
Okay.
Well,
I can't say I've dug into him, but I'm pretty sure he's not.
He's
like
at 23 last game.
Yeah, he's not going to get minutes.
Okay. Any interest in Meansy's favorite player, Grayson Allen, in a DK GPP?
Yeah, we talked about that situation. They're still crowded to the point where I don't love it, but it's not terrible.
Did they announce a starter lineup?
I'm sure they will at some point. It'll just be Grayson, I think.
Yeah, just Grayson and Bain. Yeah.
Eric Johnson says fading Hernan Gomez is the easiest thing I've ever done in GPPs. Tuttle, you were all about that, right?
FanDuel for sure, 100%. Because you have the whole opportunity cost there. It's a whole different ball game on DraftKings.
Strategy question, and I like it. QQ to the boys. Where would you play your cash games for some upside? Single entry, triple, 100-man, etc.
3-mans personally.
3-mans? Meansy, do you do any of these 3-mans?
Not really, just because I don't feel like always checking to see who's sitting on them and everything. Like see what entrants are in there, like the really sharp players. But I usually will do like a triple up, not so much these days, but like triple up, quintuple up, and single entry. And like, especially since I'm on this show, I usually just put my cash game lineup in a single entry. But if you want to get a little different, play your like cash game lineup in the single entries, but like in like 3 spots, like mix some stuff up. Like you can still play the main guys you want to, but come off of like, let's try to think of an example tonight. Like, so like on DK, like, let's think of a good option here. So like instead of Siakam, you play Jeremy Grant, something like that. Both like really close in like median projection. Like we have Siakam at 44, Jeremy Grant at 39, like within shouting distance. And I already talked about when Jeremy Grant's going well, he's going to get you like 50 plus. So like play your cash game line, but play Jeremy Grant instead of Siakam, something like that.
Okay.
So
great.
Here's the thing. If your account is still eligible to play $1, $2 games, jam the 3-mans. What Meansy was talking about, like the $5 and up, like it's work. You have to see who's in the 3-mans if you want to play them, because they are, it takes a lot of work. But those are some of the 3-mans are some of the softest games you'll get. And then on FanDuel, they have those $25 winner take alls that they'll post in the GPPs. Again, you'll have to look and see who's playing, but those are the softest games that can be found.
Okay, interesting. Zav said, we'll take like 2 or 3 more questions and we'll get out of here. Zav says, GPP on both sites. Your boy Sato, guy basically averages a triple-double, or PBev.
You were in the wrong season.
Okay, who's toting PBev here?
I don't know. Sato or PBev?
Can I say neither?
You can. Yeah, I think you can.
I love how Roth remembers Washington Wizards Sato.
Yeah, I have no idea who he plays for now. I just remember loving that guy.
So his minutes are going to be extremely negatively correlated with Kobe White. I mentioned Kobe White did not start the second half last game, and Sato did in his place. If you think that happens again, then you could be looking at mid or top or 20 minutes for Sato. If it's unlikely to happen, which it is unlikely to happen, he's in the 20 minutes that we probably have him projected at, like high teens, low 20s. There's just no upside there, in my opinion.
What's it called when you get like a 12-point, 10 assists, 10 rebound triple double? Like this, the basically bare minimum. That's got to be
Rondo. The Rondo.
Those were awesome.
I think it should be called the Sato.
That stretch where he was awesome.
Yeah, the Sato could work. All right, let's take 2 more questions here and then we're out. One of them from Trobe. He says, FanDuel GPP, Ingram Tobias or Zion Jalen?
Zion Jalen. I'm worried Ingram's tired.
Okay. And then the last question here is from Jimmy P. He says, DK single entry, your favorite forward, 4,600 and under.
DK 46. Ask Meansy a question. Let's see what we got here.
He can ask me a question. There's no more.
I know. I realized that after. Yeah, it's pretty barren here. Reddish isn't terrible, but he's not going to give you a ton of upside. Gosh, it's ugly. I guess Reddish is my answer.
Okay. Excellent. Hey, guys, if you like the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you really like the show and if you win a bunch of money, subscribe to Rotogrinders. Even if you don't win a bunch of money, you got some good advice. You know you did. So go ahead, subscribe to RG. We do this all the time, and we enjoy doing it. We have a good time. So for everybody out there, guys, for Meansy, for Tuttle, for Devon, always working hard behind the scenes, just a tremendous producer. Everybody at home, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you on Monday. You have been crunched.